in port. But that's the greatest danger for any ship when the port's the junkyard. The famous liner Olympic has outlived her usefulness, and they're selling her for scrap. What a downfall. Bound for her last harbor, Port Junk. As for the Mauretania, once crew of the Atlantic, now look at her. On the Clyde in Scotland. Rip out the plates and the anchor chain. The Mauretania, when she made the North Atlantic run, was the favorite of Americans. Now look at her. Their Majesties advance for the great ship launching ceremony. And first we hear King George.
As a sailor, I have deep pleasure in coming here today to watch the launching by the Queen of this great and beautiful ship. I am happy to name this ship the Queen Mary.
Down to the buoyant water slides the SS Queen Mary. The Queen, nearly ready for her royal progress across the North Atlantic shipping lanes. With a glinting of steel rivets, the Queen Mary in the Clyde River, Scotland. Her builders will soon turn her over to the Cunard line for her maiden voyage. The interior furnishings are nearly complete, from the swimming pool to the illuminated chart. Instead of pins stuck daily on a map, an electric light will show the progress of the voyage. For Oceanic Majesty, the Queen of the Seas, and the medallion tells that she's named after Queen Mary.
The Queen Mary is maneuvered out of her basin by the powerful tugs charged with the duty of shepherding her to sea and directed by Captain Duncan Cameron, the senior Clyde pilot. Towering above the landmarks of Clydebank, dwarfing the spectators on the shore, who have come in tens of thousands from the adjacent city of Glasgow, from distant London and from all over Britain, to witness this superb spectacle, the first impression is of her huge bulk, 80,700 tons, and standing over 100 feet above the waterline. She is 1,018 feet long, and from the air you may see how little space there is to turn her in the narrow channel. But they are very efficient, these little tugs, and before very long the Queen Mary is passing down the fairway towards the open sea, while from her funnels floats the smoke of power, which will drive her, it is hoped, at 33 knots. At the Beardmore Bend there is a hitch, and the tugs cluster round her anxiously to put matters right. It appears that her stern grazed as she was piloted on the turn, and it takes 8 minutes of pushing and pulling to extricate her. Presently the river broadens and it is all plain sailing. The Queen Mary begins now to seem more in proportion to the seascape, and our impression is of her grace and beauty. King George called her the stateliest ship in being. Seaward bound in the Firth of Clyde, the young vessel passes a scarred victim of tragedy, the Atlantic, consigned to shipbreakers on Clydeside. The one going forth to proud ocean conquest, the other to sad oblivion. Captain Sir Edgar Britton is a man to be envied today, and so the Queen Mary begins her mercantile career. May she proudly carry the blue ensign on 1,000 heavy voyages.
That hundreds of thousands flocked to see, but couldn't see half as well as the air camera. White churn and mighty drive at the stern. The camera plane skims the water and almost brushes the ship. Bow as sharp as a cruiser. And the Queen Mary comes to New York amid flocking boats of welcome. She didn't strain for a speed record, but the British superliner came within 38 minutes of the mark set by the Pride of France, the Normandy. The Queen Mary's crossing time almost exactly 4 days and a half. Now up the Hudson to dock. The royal arrival of a queen. 2,139 passengers, a human beehive of the sea. The Queen Mary breaks the speed record. After the fastest voyage a ship has ever made across the North Atlantic, she steams into the harbor of New York. Mammoth size and greyhound speed past the towers of Manhattan. She won't fly the blue ribbon, the pennant for speed, nor will she claim the North Atlantic trophy, because she wasn't out to break records, not trying to make a race of it, just another voyage. Commodore Robert Irving, captain of the Ocean Queen, tells us how it happened.
We left Bishop Rock on Thursday morning at 7:42 a.m. and we took 3 days, 21 hours and 48 minutes on the passage.
By the way, by how much did you break the record, Captain?
1 hour and 14 minutes.
Backing slowly out of her pier, the Queen Mary begins her voyage of dramatic mystery. One phenomenon of war has been the presence of great Allied liners in New York Harbor, kept there safe from the destructive conflict at sea. The British Queen Mary and Mauritania and the French Normandy. Then the Queen Elizabeth came. There's the Normandy as the Queen Mary starts down the Hudson. Maritime drama began when the Mauritania put to sea at night on a secret mission. Now in the morning, Britain's second largest giant of the ocean in war trim, war paint of gray. Rumor persists that the two luxury liners are bound for Australia to transport Australian troops to war.